One of the things which shocked me here in America is that children have to pay in order to play.
The pay-to-play system.
Pay to play.
Pay to play.
This pay-to-play system.
It's a suburban sport. It's white picket fence. It's a sport, sometimes a sport of privilege.
It's got to become more accessible to more people.
Earlier this year, FIFA president and broken clock Gianni Infantino was shocked by how the United States handled youth soccer, specifically our pay-to-play system. Now at this point, you probably know we're not looking to solve pay-to-play in the United States anymore. There are tens of thousands of clubs and hundreds of associations across the country. So really, we're in a race to make improvements to the system and institutions themselves rather than wage a multi-front war against the way that US soccer is built. What I didn't realize was that pay-to-play is a problem for recent generations in a way that it wasn't for previous ones further back. And while this story is about youth soccer in America, it inevitably touches the very foundations of our society. Greed, corruption, and an endless pursuit of profit that stops our national team from reaching its full potential. But it also does something far more nefarious. It denies our children access to a sport that should be for everyone. Look at this study from the youth development across European football. Only 14% of club budgets come from membership fees charged to families of the children playing in those clubs. The rest comes from the funding from the club, solidarity payments from transfer fees of previously trained professionals, sponsorships, and municipal and government support. In the United States, however, the figure for membership fees paid by players and their families rises to a staggering 90% or more. Today, I want to discuss this topic in a way that it hasn't been covered before, with help from two experts on the problem itself and the impact to our communities and professional environments. So first, let's define the problem. What exactly is the pay-to-play system? Simply put, it's a model where families pay for their children to participate in the soccer clubs and academies across the country. These fees cover coaching, facilities, travel, and tournament expenses. While the system helps fund soccer programs, it also creates significant barriers for many families. To understand the roots of pay-to-play, we need to look back at the late 20th century. As soccer's popularity grew in the US, clubs needed more funding for operations and infrastructure. Charging fees became the go-to solution, but this model is quite different from how youth soccer works in many other countries. In countries like England, Germany, and Brazil, youth soccer is often funded by the local communities, sponsors, or the clubs themselves. This ensures that all talented players, regardless of their financial situation or family situation, have access to high-quality coaching and facilities. Marcus Shires is a consultant and scout of high-level youth players in the US. He's also the founder of the US Soccer Collective, which covers deeply the top levels of youth development in the United States.
I guess I classify myself as an independent soccer consultant and scout, primarily focused on the youth game. I am very much concerned with and informed on the youth development pipeline in the United States. It's very complicated, and that complication is probably the biggest reason why I have demand in what I do.
In the US, youth soccer has grown immensely, with over 3 million registered players, but the cost can be staggering. Families might spend thousands of dollars each year on club fees, travel, and equipment.
That is really the fundamental problem with pay-to-play, I think, and at the root of that, I think, is access to good coaching. What happens is at younger ages, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, really important developmental times in kids' lives, it can be really difficult to get good coaching depending on where you live. And so if the only good coaching in your area is pay to play and you don't have the resources to do that, it puts you at a huge disadvantage.
I want to talk a little bit about how these costs impact families and players. Simon Landau is the co-founder of the Open Goal Project, a nonprofit aimed at attacking the dangers of the pay-to-play system by creating opportunities for young soccer players from low-income families and underserved communities to access high-level soccer in Washington, D.C. Oh, and he's also my cousin.
Really what we're focused on doing is attacking and addressing pay-to-play and the issue of pay-to-play and how exclusive it is and how it inherently prevents kids from our community, predominantly Black and brown kids and immigrant kids, from accessing high-level opportunities to grow through the sport.
His co-founder, Amir Lowry, is a former MLS pro.
We've started to see over the years a variety of different barriers that are baked into the system that span from, absurd costs to locations of programs, to a number of other obstacles. And we're focused on providing opportunities that circumvent that system, specifically with our 100% free-to-play travel club, DCFC.
The pay-to-play model doesn't just affect individual players. It impacts the entire U.S. soccer landscape. By limiting access to high-quality coaching and development opportunities, we're also restricting our talent pool.
I think we're just limiting our pool. We live in this huge country. Team sports are incredibly valued and prioritized and funded. I think we're just limiting the amount of talent that could impact the sport in a big way by not having more high quality, free grassroots programs throughout the country. I don't want to take away from what some of these pay-to-play academies, have done. Like a lot of our top players started there. Probably the majority of our top players started there. So they are, up-leveling the training, that they are getting better and better. There's more competition, so they're forced to get better and better. There's more options for kids, so you have to really raise your coaching level and what you offer to these kids to stay relevant and get the best players. In terms of quality, they are trying to raise the bar of quality at these younger ages, and that is important and having an impact. And you can't look at our senior team and not see pay to play in their background, I'm sure. Get the full potential of this immensely diverse and massive country. There needs to be both. There needs to be options for people who can't afford it.
Off the back of that, you have college ID camps or college ID weekends, right? Or college showcases. Again, the promise of being seen by a coach from one of the 100 colleges that are going to be here. You've got to pay X amount of dollars to be in this opportunity, right? So kind of as you go up the ladder with the promise, outside of just this very small pool who will be, make it pro, there is this larger pool that is selling the concept of college scholarship opportunities, that's selling the concept of, you have to play in this league to be seen by this person, selling the concept of if you're not at the tournament for nationals in Florida or Texas or California, then you're missing out on this opportunity to be seen. So at each level, and as you kind of scale up the rung to the more elite leagues, to the MLS Next, to the ECNL on the girls' side, you have inherently more cost. You have inherently a more exclusive system, which is strong play, but pooling from an already slimmer pie, right? A pie and a population that can afford it, pie and a population that has transportation abilities or has the ability to take off work for a week to go and compete in those tournaments.
Without a diverse and inclusive pipeline of development, the U.S. misses out on a wealth of talent that could elevate our national teams.
I don't think this is even an argument. I think if you talk to anybody in any industry, to effectively pool the most talented individuals in anything, whether it's in math or in science or in soccer, right? The more individuals there are and the larger the population you can pool from, the higher likelihood you're going to get the cream of the crop, right? That's just a fact. I think that's the key piece here is, not every player in our community is going to be the top player, but there are definitely players within the community now and in the future who can compete at the highest levels. And we've seen it directly. 13 of our kids at this point since 2015 have gone on to play in some form or fashion in college. And I think these are kids who, without our program, would have never had access to the opportunity to even develop, to be spotted by a potential coach. And so it's directly correlated, this kind of pathway to playing and competing at a higher level. If you're cutting off a population at the earliest age, this is our belief, is there's a trickle up, whether it's collegiately and ultimately professionally or national team-wise, that the more players we're able to provide accessibility and inclusion to for the game, there'll be kids who bubble up and reach those levels.
Access to qualifying coaches is another critical factor, because in the US, the best coaching often comes with a higher price tag, further disadvantaging lower income players. The cost of obtaining coaching license in the US also poses a barrier. High fees for coaching courses make it difficult for individuals from those lower income backgrounds to become certified coaches. I personally saw this in my own experience because I have a US Soccer D license. If I wanted to go and get my C or B license, it would cost thousands of dollars for the class and then for travel and accommodations, not to mention the ability for me to take time off of my day job or leave my family. In England, though, I was there for 2 years, and I was able to earn an FA Level 2, which is a UEFA C license, for about $250 total.
Yeah, coaching's its own beast. So thankfully, my co-founder and our executive director, Amir Lowry, he played professionally. He has a license coaching-wise, and he directs our club. So we've really put a focus on building within our ecosystem of our club, building from within the community, and trying to empower our community and our coaches and our program alumni to have access and opportunity within the coaching license space. So we have, over the past several years, hired dozens of program graduates. Currently on our staff, we have about a dozen who have come through our program, who know what the kids are experiencing in our program, who have gone to the same schools, speak the same language, that the kids can really, really relate to.
If you have not been in a competitive, well-coached environment from ages 9 to 13, you are at a huge deficit. And so I think that is fundamentally the problem with pay to play in the United States, is that it's just giving kids such a big advantage at those earlier ages, because good coaching, good development is hard to find. So it comes at a premium.
So what can we do to address these barriers? Well, programs like Open Goal Project are leading the way by providing free-to-play opportunities for youth in underserved communities.
So within Open Goal Project, our core program is DCFC, which is District of Columbia Football Club. It's 100% free-to-play travel club in our community. And so this is not a recreational program. This is a program, a travel club like any other fee-based club that would cost $3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 a year. We compete against teams from the area, informal leagues like EDP, informal travel tournaments. We think that this model, covering the costs in-house and having our own ecosystem to build with all these other unique elements, is really crucial to our kids thriving and having a unique, holistic experience that allows them to go as far as they can with the game and in life.
There's also been advancements in solidarity payments with the US Soccer Youth System. This actually seems like the largest tangible advancement we've made as a full ecosystem in the last decade.
If you are at a non-MLS affiliated academy, at any point move to an MLS academy, or even make a jump from that academy to professional in MLS, there are solidarity payments that go to that non-affiliated club. So that's definitely in place, and yes, that then helps subsidize. I don't know, how the money is then used at that non-affiliated MLS academy to help subsidize families. The majority of those non-MLS academies are pay to play, but I would imagine that those solidarity payments help to cover a lot of things and I'm sure one of them is to have, a scholarship-like program.
The current landscape may seem bleak, but there is a lot of room for optimism.
I think the reason to be optimistic is that you see growth. You see growth in coverage in youth soccer. You see growth in talent levels at these younger ages. I think there's really exciting players coming through at the younger age groups. You're seeing growth in professional clubs starting throughout the country. I still think it's, a bit fractured and segmented, but I just don't think you can argue with the growth of the sport and the growth in popularity, and then hopefully the growth in kind of understanding of how you get to the highest level. And I think generationally, as the sport grows, you start to solve some of those coaching issues we talked about. The more people you see fall in love with the game, the more you see people play the game at different levels, they're going to get back to it in the future and be good coaches. So I just think it may be a while, but I think the growth is going to pay off in the next few generations, where there's just more people who love and understand the sport and therefore can give better education, pass that love on to more people, whether that be, their sons or daughters, or what have you. So I think the growth is inevitable, and I think that in itself is a reason to be really optimistic.
I'd also say I'm optimistic because I've seen the growth in the kids that we have, right? Like you see them over the course of a year, kids who haven't had access to this really kind of proving our theory right? Proving the theory that with the proper coaching, with the proper attention, with the proper investment, that these kids can take natural talent and continue to progress and continue to improve. And it's exciting, specifically on the younger groups, to see our clubs and our teams that just started over the past couple of years begin to compete with these teams, beat these teams in some cases, win local tournaments, because it just shows that with investment, with equity in this space, as we strive for it, that the talent is there and that the kids deserve it. And in the long term, the more we focus on it and the more attention's paid to it and the more investment provided to it, the more impact we'll have and the closer we'll get to real change here.
The pay-to-play system in American youth soccer creates significant barriers that limit access for lower-income families and prevent many talented players from reaching their full potential. By addressing some of these barriers and creating more inclusive and accessible development pathways, we can help ensure that all talented players have the opportunity to succeed in soccer, regardless of their financial background. This will lead to a stronger, more competitive national team and a brighter future for soccer in the US. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks to Marcus and Simon for contributing. If you do want to support the Open Goal Project, I'll have their website in the pinned comment. And if you want to follow Marcus, just search for the US Soccer Collective. I'll see you next time. Peace.